Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games, The Week in Games. This is the segment I do every week on things that are new this week in games. I do this weekly segment probably once a month. That's how lazy I am. Anyway, it's been hot, hot, hot this August, and COVID has kept everyone kind of tight and mixed. I haven't had too much gaming group stuff. There's been a little bit of a loosening a bit to get some gaming, but in general, we're still very much regimented here in the Pacific Northwest in many ways in regards to it. But yeah, the heat has made sure that none of my games are getting wet. I'll put it that way. In our house, I don't know about your house, but up here, when we have hot weather, there's always this cry for air conditioning. And I've always been an anti-air conditioning person. I know. My entire family thinks I'm nuts. I call it the devil's ice cream, and I'll have none of it. But I can tell you that it's for the 3 days a year when it matters up here. There's definitely the constant cry for air conditioning. Hopefully the weather will change soon, and also we'll get to some more interesting news, which now's the time. Okay. Massive Darkness 2. This is a game that just kickstarted a couple weeks ago. I played the original Massive Darkness. I really liked the Diablo-like feel of it. I really felt that it was a nice niche, a nice spot, but I didn't feel good about the campaign, and it was a great game that didn't have a great sort of campaign. Massive Darkness 2 just throws it out. You've got Lightbringers bringing light to the darkness, and angels and demons, and all these things playing a part. It has made millions of dollars already on its Kickstarter, and I'm looking forward to it. I went ahead and backed it, although if you back it fully, man, you're talking hundreds of dollars. I think I'm going to be okay with just maybe, the core set, and we'll see. We'll see if I feel foolish. But it definitely looks like a step up from the original Massive Darkness, so take a look at that. Alexander Pfister is one of my favorites recently. He's done some really good games. Blackout, which is a little less well known, Great Western Trail, Maracaibo, which I really still like. He's coming out with a new game, Cloud Age, and it's curious because it's cast as lighter than Maracaibo or Great Western Trail, but it's also a little deeper than, say, Isle of Skye. It has some deck building, it has some resource management, it has the typical engine building that Pfister does. The premise being the world is destroyed by evil core cloud, node, dry. And you got these dried out landscapes, and you're eking out a better of life. It's kind of a road warrior min-max, mad min-max. The thing is, normally when it comes to Alexander, it's either Fist or Famine. In this case, we're going to get both. So I'm looking forward to it, and perhaps you are too. And finally, there's the last entry in the game Western Legends, which is this sandboxy legend, Western feel game. Think Red Dead Redemption Light, and it's a new expansion. It has some modular pieces that you can add and mix in with the core gameplay. I found the game to be pretty vacuous at lower player counts, but a hoot at larger player counts. So with that, check it out if you wish. Let's get to my question of the week. Question I had was, do you loan out your games? And sometimes people ask that because they're actually saying, will you loan out your games? Other times they'll be like, you can't seriously loan these out, right? And I'm kind of in the middle. Yes and no. I loan them out strategically, tactically. I have to know who I'm loaning them out to, but I always have a thing. I never loan a game out without the mindset that I'm probably giving the game away. That way, it's just like it's off my. I'm not feeling like I loan it. It's like, here, check it out, see what you think of it, give it back when you're done. Because I know that for the most part, people either really treasure the games or they don't. And it's an interesting question because I've been at sort of, when I go to these local conventions, a lot of really nice, kind, generous people will bring their game collection, and if you're not careful, they get sort of trashed by a small subset, and so I'm kind of mindful of that. And that's where I'm like, hey, if I loan a game out and I don't really care if it comes back, great. If I loan a game out, though, I'm probably not going to loan ones out that are out of print. ones that I really don't want to lose. But I mean, when you think about, my dream has always been at some point in the future would be able to have sort of a gaming library, either at my house or stationed somewhere locally. I like talk to my church about it, stuff like that, where people could check out games, play them, bring them back, because I have such a large collection. I have more games than some board game stores do. And I've always wanted to have that. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't sold as many off, is that I have this idea someday. That's been really belated now, because we are in a much different world than we were about 10 years ago, when I thought I'd love to someday do this. I'd run conventions where I'd bring a couple thousand games, group them together. That's always a caravan, and you're like, yeah, trucks and trucks of board games. But anyway, I mean, I don't know what other people think about it, but to answer the question, yes and no. I loan them out, but I have a certain mindset when I do, and I have a dream for the future. So what about others? Do you loan out games? Are you particular about who you loan them out to? Do you have the sort of free from, hey, it's a game, everybody share it? Yeah, let me know. And let's get to my 3 games. Okay. Game number 1, Cooper Island. This is a game that intrigued me because it kind of had the idea that maybe, just maybe, there'd be piratiness involved. There's not. It's building up an island and moving around the island, resource building. It's kind of a throwback a little bit so far that I've seen. I haven't done a full review, but it's kind of a throwback to a more civilized age where there were more about just building resources and using resources, and it's definitely a step back from some of the stuff that I've seen lately. And it isn't bad, but it is different. It plays 1 to 4. There's kind of this idea that you just building up a mountain and going around it and stuff. Matter of fact, I have it set up behind me if you're interested in looking at it. But that's one that I'm going to take a look at in the next few weeks and maybe review. Here's a really old one, Tally Ho. I have enjoyed the snot out of this with my kids. It's completely random. You never have any, it's just up to you. You're basically revealing the game more than you're playing the game. But man, it's fun when you get a bear in your sights, or a bear gets a hunter in their sights. Yeah, no, I still keep it around because it's still just a classic. I think it's about 20 years old, and yet it still keeps the artwork still holds true. It still keeps its flavor. So rock on. And finally, back by popular demand, Back to the Future, Back in Time is my latest purchase. This is from Prospero Hall, the makers of Horrified and Wonder Woman and Pan Am and Jungle Cruise. But this one, you are recreating the events of that fateful time. Was it time? Back in time, when you are going to basically do everything that the movie had you do, because, well, the movie knew what it was doing. And so maybe I'll do a review of it in the future that was already done, and we'll just come back and be published in its own good time. Who knows how time travel works, right? Anyway, that's the 3 games. Let's get to Alphabet Soup. We are already on the letter V. We are really close to the end. I can't believe that we are close to the end of the alphabet after all these years. So let's get rolling. Nostalgia starts with an N, not a V. Viticulture, top of the line. I still like Viticulture. It is one of the first Stonemaier games I played. Know nothing about wine, but you don't have to. I love the Italian vibe and theme on this, and the papa and the mama, and it's easy enough that my wife will play it. It's not her ultimate favorite, but she didn't not like it either, and she was impressed with just delightful artwork. It's the typical Stonemaier sort of, artwork style, and really enjoyable. Bottom of the barrel, and this is probably going to turn some heads with my local groups because they love it. I'm the only one that doesn't like this game, and it is Vindication. I do not like Vindication. When I played it at a show, I was so ready to be done with it, and hours went by for me to finish. It just didn't resonate with me. I don't know why. I get the idea. I think it's a clever premise, and I'm usually always on board with a clever premise. It's okay, but this was definitely a game that I don't ever want to play again. Personal preference. Moving on. Came out of nowhere. Vikings, the board game. This is not the same as the original old Vikings, which touts to be about Vikings, but really is more just about moving around and building like islands. But Vikings, the board game, is one of those that ties in with the license, and so you're using the actual artwork of the Vikings History Channel Vikings show. It does it really. It's clever. It deals with the first couple like season, not some of the later drama. But you've got your iconic characters. You've got you're branching out, sailing out. Ruggedness, survival. It has more. I mean, it was a surprise. It surprised me greatly, and I'm glad that I picked it up. Riches to Rags. When I played the first couple games of Viral, I thought, cool, finally, playing games in the bloodstream. I've always thought that was an untapped market to a degree, not since Operation, which of course is a tapped market. Uh, it tanked after a couple games. I just felt like I didn't like it. It was way overcomplicated for what is basically area control. So all the fun parts of like, hey, I'm taking control of the bladder, were just kind of like, but it's just so programmatic. I don't know. It I wanted to feel this awesome like inner space kind of feel. Instead, I just felt like it was Dead Space. Rags to Riches though, Vast. Now, Vast is a game that has every single character you play is completely different from every other character you play, and so every player has to kind of know what they're doing to really play it well. When it hits on all cylinders, when you have people that know the game and play the game, it's a hoot. Unique artwork. Every single time you play a role, it's different. I definitely think you need to play it with everybody involved to really get the most out of it. But there are some interesting solo variants and lower player count variants. But definitely went from, I don't know about this to, yeah, I really like this. There's a place for this always. Um, Meaty Mighty Manwich Vinos, Vital Lacerda again. Almost all of the any game he has that starts with a letter, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the complicated category. And this one's mighty. This one takes a bit to gather around. Again, winemaking kind of stuff, but I enjoyed it. Despite the fact that it was very complicated. Test of Time. There was a game long ago called Vegas Showdown. It had paper maps that never felt flat. But you're building a casino out. You're doing and you've got this sort of risk reward and trusting your luck, and it still holds up after all this time really well. It's yeah. Comeback Tour. What game do I want redone? Victorian Masterminds was a game by a couple really well-known designers that I almost buy everything they put out sight unseen. I didn't do that in this case. Victorian Masterminds underachieved for me. It had really cool artwork, over the top over the top style. It had this sort of theme of being a mastermind, and it had a bunch of different like unique things you're gonna steal. Think Despicable Me, but they were all the same. They did the same. It's very samey. I'd love to see Victorian Masterminds either an expansion pack that really starts to make distinctiveness to it, or just a retheme that really provides more than just what ended up being really too similar gameplay and just not enough going on. It really, yeah, maybe I'll do a review of it someday. I don't know. Honorable mention, Theme Village. Any game where your meeples grow up and then die and then wind up in a graveyard and then you just keep the circle of life and death going. That's thematic. Artwork was cool, but thematically I like that. And artwork, viticulture, like I just love the artwork. They have done such a wonderful job. The board, the cards, everything just reeks of just style. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for joining me on my weekend games, and I'll try to do a better job of making an actual weekend games be every weekend games. But for now, it's great to hear from you. I'm very excited about all the new people that have joined. Again, it's very low-key, very casual. I love discussion, so I'm very blessed to have a lot of people chiming in and giving me some good feedback and having some really interesting topics, and it's just been a blessing to me. So thank you, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.